Kevin Sidebottom here, speaker, author, and trainer. And I go around and I teach sales organizations and leadership teams how to build trust and influence with their team members and their customers. What happens is profits go up, revenues generate, and everybody's happy. Today, let's talk about how leaders grow trust with their employees. Yeah, that's a pretty big thing. We have to have trust with other people or else they're not going on the journey with us. And if there's no one else going on the journey with us, that's a lonely walk and we're not getting much done. So how do leaders grow trust with their employees? Well, there's a lot that goes into it, and I teach the trust equation and a bunch of other stuff that goes into generating trust in a trustworthy training that I've created. But let's talk about a few things that you can do to build trust pretty quick and what goes into trust. So in the video, we'll talk about the communication aspect. We're going to talk about how to show up, how to do some things well so that way you don't turn people off, and I'm going to give you a tidbit at the end on how you can become a rock star. Okay? So the first thing, what goes into trust? Well, communication is a pretty big deal when it comes to trust. If we're not communicating well, we're not building trust. Because if we're saying the wrong things and it's not hitting the mark, people aren't engaging and they're not going to be influenced by us. So we need to make sure that we communicate effectively. And so that way we can succeed together because we all have a passion to move forward and grow. Now, what does that look like? Well, 90% of communication, nonverbal. That's right. Not the words you say, but how you say them, how you show up, the environment, what you're wearing. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it that can affect trust and how things land in your communication. So, we need to make sure when we're in an environment to talk to people, like a large group of people, it's probably best not to be in a subway or a place that there's a whole lot of heavy machinery making a lot of noise and bombs going off. Like, that's pretty distracting, and people pretty much are not going to be able to hear us and retain what we're talking about. So the stuff's not going to land. Our communication's going to fail. Okay? Now we also need to know our tonalities, how fast we're talking. I mean, when I was down in Florida selling, and I was in the panhandle of Florida, well, they have a slower pitched kind of talk that if a northerner came in and started talking really, really fast, they'd be turned off. I literally had a guy that said, just slow down. It's just so I can catch up. Okay? We need to make sure that when we're coming in, we're not using a frown when we're trying to be happy. If we're sad, we don't want to come in with really funny face coming on, smiling in an awkward environment because, well, that just makes everything more awkward. Okay? The colors we wear actually influence trust as well. So if we wear power ties and some of the other things that can actually erode trust from our team members, what do you think is going to happen if we wear like a power tie or we're really engaging and intimidating? People aren't going to trust us. That's right. They're not going to trust us. So we need to make sure that we're focused in and conscious of what we're wearing. There's different colors that actually affect that. Robert Cialdini's book called Influence is a great resource to help you understand that. Highly recommend you read that, and we'll get to how you can actually grow yourself here shortly. The other thing is the different scents you wear. Some of the different scents we wear can actually affect trust. That's right. So if we don't know the personalities and what scent will trigger what personalities, because we haven't studied that, what should we do? Typically, I don't wear colognes when I'm out with anybody except for my wife. I make sure I smell clean, but I don't typically wear colognes unless I'm with my wife because I don't want to trigger anybody. Because everybody has different kind of triggers, we don't want to affect those things. And scents can actually do that. If you've ever gone into a department store, you'll notice the women's area has different scents and sounds being pumped into it than the men's and the kids' area. So we need to be cognizant of that when we're out with people and trying to grow trust with them. Okay? So how do we go about building our trust levels and whatnot? Well, there's tons of different leadership trainings and everything about building trust out there on the internet. Whether you use mine or anybody else's, do one training or one conference a year to help grow yourself. By doing so, you'll add value. Now, if you can, take your team or other people with you because you'll build trust when you guys do a debrief. When I mean debrief, I mean coming in after the training, sitting down and asking everybody, what did you learn? What's one thing we can take away from this training and apply it to ourselves? Because there's tons of stuff that's thrown out there, but only one or two things can actually be taken and applied regular and to a great potential. So we need to make sure that we're doing these debriefs, listening to other people, because there might be some insight that we gain from somebody else and go, wow, that's a great idea. I'm going to use that. So do debriefs, okay? The other thing I recommend, read. Yeah, that's right. Read a book. Now, it's boring, but it actually helps transfer knowledge. That's why people create books. That's why we have history books. That's why we have leadership books. We have all these books out there to grow ourselves. Read. Read on books about building trust. Dale Carnegie's got a fantastic one, How to Win Friends and Influence People. They've got trainings, and there's tons of books out there. So pick up a book. Now, you don't have to read the whole book in one setting. Here's what I do to read 12 books a year. I read 10 pages a day. That's it. 10 pages a day. In 30 days, I can read about 300 pages. A lot of leadership and books and building trust and all that stuff. Well, that can be done in a month. 12 books a year, right? There's 12 months in a calendar. You see where I'm getting at this? Take small incremental steps. Now, if you have a great budget, I highly recommend going out and doing a team building environment with your team members. That's right. If you're a leader of a small business and you can take your team out to do an operation adventure or at least escape room, people are going to form bonds and trust is going to grow in those bonds by taking those trainings that take you out of your comfort zone and outside the workplace. That's where trust really grows. So we need to focus on how we do that and adding value to people. Now, here's the last thing that I recommend, and it's going to help you become a rock star overnight. Most organizations will actually overcommit and underproduce. That's right. They'll say we have this product or service coming out in this amount of time. And then something gets delayed and they fail. Well, what I learned from program managers is they have this thing called float. And what they do is they say if something's going to take them 7 or 10 days, they're going to bake in a couple extra days. They know things are going to happen, an illness, something gets delayed, something doesn't get delivered on time. They build in this float so they can actually hit their target dates. What happens? Well, sometimes they actually come in under that target date to the customer, and now you've undercommitted and overproduced. In sales, you say this is going to do one thing, well, make sure it does 3 things for the customer and answer their needs, because now you've undercommitted, overproduced, and they're happier. You do this enough, you become a rock star, and everybody comes to you because you're the guru. Learn how to do this stuff so that way you can be successful. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. My contact information is below. If you like this video, hit like, subscribe, share it with somebody that might add value. That's why I do these videos. We'll see you next time.